90.5 WCBE supports Natalie's Grandview because live music matters.
And tonight at Natalie's, it's a sold-out show.
Everybody that's anybody in the music business performed live from Studio A.
It's Columbus radio at its finest.
They like it. That's where the support comes from.
I love WCBE, and I can't imagine Columbus without it.
I was driving out of town the last time you were here, so I'm glad I get you all to myself today.
Right. I know. And you can listen to WCBE anywhere on the planet, no matter where you're driving, just so you know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the new WCBE app?
Yeah, even if you're up in Kodiak, Alaska at Slim Jones Inc., you could listen to it.
One of your favorite places. We'll
Yeah,
catch up.
yeah. I just happen to know they're listening, and I love them dearly. And a big shout out to my friends up in Kodiak, Alaska, listening to WCB, because you can listen to the radio wherever you are now, and you can pick your station and go for it. And this station, always a favorite of mine, like right from the heart, because you're the first station that ever played my music. You know, I was working at Traffic and Parking, Ohio State. I was in the booth. Yeah, and I think it was John Peterson, played, like I brought a cassette down.
A cassette, yeah.
And gave him a cassette. And so the first time I ever heard my music on the radio was this station.
And what was that feeling like? Tell us a little bit
Well,
about it.
it's huge, of course. You know, you jump outside the parking garage booth and you're like, I'm on the radio. You know, yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous, but it's also like I love radio, and I love wherever I go. I don't like the whole algorithm thing. I get it. I understand. It's fine. However you listen to music, I appreciate it. But I don't like a computer picking. I like to have a disc jockey picking tunes for me. I like someone to play tunes for me. So when I get in the car, my first thing isn't to go to one of the streaming services, or and I do have Sirius XM now, so I've got the best. Like I can have Tom Petty as my DJ if I want, right? Which is really enjoyable because he loves rock and roll and he loves music, and I do enjoy those old school DJs like, Wolfman Jack, who I heard as a kid or whatever, or Kid Leo, and, just talking about records and talking about the history of music and more of its social relevance than just like what's hitting the charts,
Yeah, and Kid Leo was up in Cleveland.
He was at WZZP. Yeah, it was like a rock station that, back in the 70s when I first heard him, and now he's on Little Steven's Underground Garage. So yeah, the radio is still a big love for me, and I still discover new music on the radio. That's the way I do it.
And I appreciate you still listening to the radio and to
Absolutely.
WCBE when you get a chance to do that from time to time. We
my
appreciate
fave.
that.
You guys taught me so much about jazz. It's like when I rolled into Columbus last night, you know where I went? Dick's Den. Right? Because they got a Hammond B3 now. And I think it's safe to tell everybody out there that since tonight's show at Natalie's is sold out, and I'm really appreciative. It's kind of mind-blowing that it's sold out. I'll be back for ComFest.
Yay.
I'm playing ComFest. I'm playing the gazebo stage at ComFest at the end of June. And me and Sam Brown and J.P. Olson, a songwriter who had a big influence on my life, we're going to play at Dick's Den on the Friday night of ComFest.
Very
That's the last
cool.
Friday of June. So just a shout out to everybody
That's
there.
awesome.
Will be coming back.
All right. Well, let's get started with the song. We're going to catch up with about this new album and what's been going on with Tim since his last visit, and share some Alaska stories and whatnot as well. And what's this first one you're going to do?
This song is called Everything You're Afraid of. You're gonna be all right. You're gonna be all right now. Just call a friend today, and you'll be all right. You are an engine falling out of the sky. Kick on the air brakes, take a deep breath, stop asking why. You don't have to have a shame for the games you play. Let's take all that pain and rage and useless hatred away. Come on, remove yourself from everything Ditch all the anger and unlock the chains. Ask yourself how you can help someone else who's in pain today. Take all those worries, put them in a big old book. Leave the book on a stranger's shelf. That's right, now congratulate yourself. Send a meaningful prayer of sympathy to all your enemies. Call a friend, ask them how they're getting on, and mean it. Come on, remove yourself from everything you're afraid of. Come on, remove yourself from everything you're afraid of. All right. Then play guitar. Open up any window, open up any door. Let the light inside you like you never had before. Now get down on your knees, right down on those dirty knees. Do not fight, ask the light for the might to help you find some peace. Think of everyone you hurt, starting with yourself. Everyone you lied to, starting with yourself. Every broken promise, starting with yourself. Every broken heart, starting with yourself. Every family torn apart, starting with yourself. Every time you turned away from everything you're afraid of, turn and face everything you're afraid of. Turn and face everything you're afraid of. Yeah.
Yay, it's Tim Easton back in the studio, live from Studio A this afternoon. Everything You're Afraid of. It's on the new one, Find Your Way, and the official release is out all over the planet today. Yeah.
Today's the day, yeah. And I showed up in Columbus, Ohio, the first place I ever started really playing gigs. And I wanted to celebrate this record release here today, and I'm so glad I did. I see that you've got some new video attachments here.
Yes. We're moving up in the world.
I thought this was just a radio station.
But you can see his sweet face
Yeah.
on YouTube and our Facebook channel.
That's right. It'll
We're
be
live.
forever on YouTube.
Yes.
So I will.
Unless you tell us otherwise.
And you and I will forever be wearing our Canadian tuxedos, our matching. I made this album in Canada, so it's kind of important for me to acknowledge that. My mom was Canadian, and a really good friend of mine, the songwriter producer Leroy Stagger, has a beautiful studio up in Victoria. On Vancouver Island, up in British
Beautiful.
Columbia.
Yeah.
It is beautiful, and he built it with some friends. And I have to just do a big shout out to him and his family, because they took me up. They put me up for a week, and Leroy really helped petition the Canadian government, write the Canadian government grants. So I was able to not exploit my mother's Canadian citizenship, but really utilize my mom's Canadian stuff, to basically to go and make a Canadian record. So that's what stands out. The difference of this record is that it was a live Canadian band in a room about this big, really recording together.
And Leroy, you reconnected with him because you worked with him on a different
I
project.
did, yeah.
as
He and
well.
I were in Easton Stagger Phillips, and we still are. We've made 2 albums. That started out as a Canadian, kind of a cabin album up in Alaska. We made it with Evan Phillips and Greg Benolkin, and he recorded us up there in a cabin, and then that led to making an album that was a little bit more done remotely in different locations and stuff like that. And who knows, we might make another album. But either way, Leroy is quite the songwriter and quite the producer himself. he's sitting on a brand new album, which I think is beautiful, and hopefully you guys will get to check that out. But meanwhile, Leroy and I are both, we're like consummate workaholic songwriters. We're just always moving forward with the songwriting. We love Steve Earle. We love his prolific, songwriting and activism. So if you go online and search Leroy Stagger, you can choose between 10 plus albums with him too. And now with me, whatever robot you're listening to out there, people, whatever robot you live with at home, you can tell her, hey Siri, hey Alexa, play Tim Easton, Find Your Way. And yeah, she'll go all night because there's like over 100 songs on my Spotify pages now and stuff like that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so available on vinyl and digital album too.
Absolutely.
Right?
The stream's out there on all the old social feeds. You can find it. But anywhere you listen to music, if you buy vinyl and you go to Lost Weekend Records and buy vinyl, I love you for that. That is a wonderful thing. I'm going to have a couple copies over there. Of course, I'll have some at the show tonight. We have to thank, Jack White for making vinyl so cool again that troubadours like myself who travel alone in a car have to carry around an entire record collection and move it in and out of a car every day. And then in the summertime, we can't leave it in the car in the day because it'll melt.
Right.
And that won't look very
Fair
good
one.
on the turntable. Yeah. So I just love it though. I'm really grateful for Black Mesa Records, which is based in Tulsa, Oklahoma. My friend Chris Payne runs that. And he also he's working with a venue there now, and it's just Tulsa, Oklahoma is a boom town for beautiful music. The Woody Guthrie Museum is there, the Bob Dylan Museum is there, and so
Can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. And now I got a record company that's based there called Black Mesa Records, and they're the ones that help me assemble this team of friends and everything to help kind of keep this going. Because let's face it, this is folk music. This isn't pop music. I'm a lone wolf troubadour out there, but I can't do it by myself. There's no way I could do it without, I can't do it without the help of, say, WCB and Natalie's and all the people that basically help, used to put me on their couches and now, we've got nicer and nicer couches as the time has gone on. The couches have really picked up. I'm still in the basement.
Good.
I'm still in the basement every now and then, but that's just the way it is, it's fine.
Well, Alaska, I know it's one of your favorite places
Yeah.
on Earth, and maybe, if not your favorite place
I
to
do go there a lot.
And how often do you go there, and what is the best time to go to Alaska
Well,
for certain things?
I mean,
Fishing, I know you fish.
I'm way into the salmon fishing. I was really lucky that I just kind of put it out there, in my life. When I want to do something, I either write about it or sing about it and play about it. And I put it out there. I was like, I want to go to Kodiak, Alaska. I want to go to Kodiak, Alaska. And I ended up going there. And I wore an Alaska shirt on the cover of the first record, that record I made with the Wilco guys way back when. And a promoter called me and said, would you like to come to Alaska? And so that basically helped that happen. And then this year I'll be going. And then I started teaching songwriting workshops up there. Kind of lucky. I was like, well, what could I do to bring me to Alaska to stay in one town for more than a day or two, And so I started doing songwriting workshops up there, and I started working a songwriting workshop in Joshua Tree. This year I'm going to do one with Mill Tree,
cool.
which is we work with veterans out there. And that is a region of work that has now changed my life. This new album has a song that was written with some of those veterans on it.
Oh, wow.
And it's just, veterans, you think of veterans as being like twice your age or older, like Vietnam vets or World War II vets. It actually, now veterans are half my age and they went to Afghanistan or Iraq, and they're this is a really heavy message, but it's a fact. They're dying in large numbers, taking themselves out, whether it be through addiction or cross addiction or just suicide. And the numbers are so kind of stunning that I can't believe we don't do more about it as a country. But we have people out there and organizations out there that are doing things like songwriting with veterans, and that's one of the things I'm doing. And I'm not saying it's making a big change out there, but I really appreciate when I see people out there just trying to do something in their community, whether it's in regards to working with the homeless or unhoused or working with veterans. It's the least we can do, and certainly it's the least I can do, who gets to frolic around the world playing songs and singing songs for people.
Well, that's great, though, that you're doing that. And that's in Joshua Tree this
year, this September. And most of the information about what I do is on timeaston.com and stuff, but you can there's an organization called Milltree, and I talk about them on this new record a little bit, and they work with veterans, and I work with them to basically run a songwriting workshop. Basically, I teach them how to steal from the best, you know? That's the same thing like Steve Earle would do at a workshop. It's like, well, here, take a Woody Guthrie song, rewrite the lyrics, you know, because not many people know this, but Woody Guthrie, he never wrote an original melody in his life. He just wrote lyrics to older songs and then sang them. You know?
Yeah, but there's some great interpreters out there.
Oh yeah, and
You know?
that's the folk method. That is the folk
Yeah.
method, and you know that's what I tell all young songwriters. Is like we're gonna write a 2-chord song that's just like Little Maggie. You know that one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, play it.
yeah, where's Little Maggie? Yonder watch her try and stay. She's drinking down the whiskey with a low down sorry man. So I would just tell someone to write new words in that meter. That's how I do it often, and keep it simple. And that's Little Maggie is actually one of the examples I've used before.
I love that
Yeah.
song too. Not just
Yeah.
because of the name.
Not because
I
it's
do
about
love
a
how
wild
little
woman
is
that
being-
drinks a lot. It's because I like it because it's a beautiful melody.
And Joshua Tree, you did an album there too, didn't you? Or
I did. I made an
Happy
album in
and
Victoria
Harry?
Williams. Yeah, I started that record. It's called Ammunition, and that's back when I was working with New West Records. And I would love to own that album again. A little story there. But I started making that album with Gary Lewis in Minneapolis and a guy named Ed Ackerson in a studio called Flowers. So Gary Lewis is on that album. And then I took those tapes, in quote, out to Joshua Tree, where I worked with Mark Howard, who Mark Howard worked on Dylan's Time Out of Mind and a couple other amazing albums. And I shacked up in the old Victoria's cabin out back, and we finished the album there. And that album, yeah, it's because it has love songs on it and sincere love songs, and I was going through some heavy life changes at the time. It still resonates, and I'm lucky that when I play a live show, I get to kind of do one song from every album
That's
I've
cool.
made, or tonight I'm going to lean on the new ones a little bit more, but
Of course, it just
I always
came out
say that.
today.
Yeah.
You always say that, but then
Yeah.
sprinkle in, some older stuff here and there.
yeah, I can't believe I get to put out albums. I'm really lucky to do that, and I'm really grateful for you listeners out there who stream it, whatever you do, however you find music. I really appreciate you. If you find a tune that you love, share it with a friend of yours, and that's basically how we get by in this world,
It's good
Yeah.
stuff. The buddy system.
Yeah, basically, there's so much music out there, right? It's overwhelming sometimes,
Oh yeah.
but yeah,
Like, shoo.
yeah. Thank you, WCB, for having me back, because I know you're just like you could.
Of course.
Yeah. I happen to fit right in the middle of all that, somewhere between Columbus funk and Columbus folk. I might smell like the funk, but I got the sound of the folk.
Tim Easton, if you're just joining us,
Can you
he's
smell on the radio?
live
I
from
don't know.
Studio A. I know you turn down the volume. What's that smell?
Yeah. We have video now here at WCB, and soon we're going to have a little oral. It's going to be amazing. You'll be able to smell the bands as they come in.
Well, some I'd rather not.
Yeah.
Tim Easton, live from Studio A right now. The new album is Find Your Way, and it just came out today and available at the show tonight if you haven't already purchased in any format that's available. And Natalie's, 8 o'clock seating starts. There's also Lily Bloom Trio at 5:15, and then they'll get their gear out, and Tim will get ready for you. Show is at 9. You also have George Berry Band over on the other stage with Levi Brown and Smokin' Section. All sorts of good stuff.
Oh yeah.
And, we'll talk Andy Mann's Treehouse. They're celebrating the
They're
25th.
celebrating. Yeah, congratulations to Quinn and the gang, man. It's like, what a cool experience it was. Like Andy Mann's Treehouse was a really great place for me to play my songs and start writing songs and like playing them for that room specifically. And that was a thing I did do, and I love that bar, and I loved Andy, and I appreciate, and big shout out to those folks that are having that anniversary this weekend.
Yeah, good, all sorts of good stuff going on. And Kraftwerk. Are you going to head over to Kraftwerk?
Are you kidding me? Tonight, I'm always going up against Kraftwerk. Ich Nissan Shi. I just got back from Japan, and I've just toured there for 2 weeks. I'm so lucky that I got to do that. And I friggin' love Kraftwerk and the band Can. And the Scorpions, for that matter. Now that we're going down
Right?
that road,
Yes.
who doesn't love a good Scorps ballad? But I just love Kraftwerk, and I always have since high school. It just started out early with us because I'm from Akron, Ohio, and that's where Devo is from, right?
Yep.
So Devo wasn't a foreign thing to me as a kiddo. You know, it was like Beatles, Stones, Devo. You know, it's like I was like, what? Neil Young's working with Devo like that. As a high school kid, that was just mind blowing. So when Kraftwerk came along, it wasn't like a shocking thing to me. It was a matter of fact, I got way into it. You know.
Yeah.
So
They start at 8:30. I don't know. It's going to intertwine.
maybe
with
they
your
want to come and see me. You know,
They
I mean,
might. I'll talk to them. No.
yeah, with their pocket calculators.
Sprockets.
Right. I'm just so like folky guy. I don't. You know, that's part of that last record I made that you don't really know me is to let people know it's like it's more than just 6 strings and some stories, but that is a big part of my thing, and I appreciate you guys, you know, giving me the space to do what I want, and I want to play the title song for the album called "Find Your Way," which came from an experience. I don't mean to name drop yet again, but Chris Robinson, he left some Rice Krispie treats at this recording session once, and I was like, oh. Chris Robinson Rice Krispie treats. What could go wrong? And this happened about 10 years ago with that band, the Band of Heathens.
Love them.
And I did a session with them. Yeah, they're working with Hayes Carl recently, and I left the session and I got behind the wheel of a heavy automobile. Luckily, nothing bad happened. Okay, I didn't hurt anybody, but it was dangerous. And sometime during the pandemic, I just sat down and I opened up my journal. I'm a chronic journaler, and I read that story, and I wrote this song, and really send it out to anybody who's struggling, and just know that we can get through it. And maybe today is going to be a little better. Just call a friend. And again, massive shout out to Ron and the gang up at Slim Jones Inc. up in Kodiak, Alaska. If you want to get a tattoo, friends, go up to Kodiak, Alaska. That's where you want to go. You can check out some bears and get some fresh ink. This is a song called Find Your Way. Up at the corner, Trinity and 41, too high to even know where I was going. Lights had switched once more, someone slammed the horn, and I slowly made my way on down the road to pull over, thank my lucky soul. Everybody else already knows, you never know how long it takes in between the breaks. Every dream starts with some shaking. I'm not one to ask when it comes to pass. Every day is another chance to find your way. I went slow across the tracks just to catch my breath, still shaking from another wake-up call from certain death. Fate does not expect you to understand. A wreck inside a wreck can hardly make demands. So pull over, thank your lucky soul. Everybody else already knows, you never know how long it takes in between the breaks. Every dream starts with some shaking. I'm not one to ask when it comes to pass. Every day is another chance to find your way. Nobody ever wants to admit They're just like everybody else. Nobody ever wants to admit what they really wanted nearly killed them, and it may still do it yet. All these corners that I cut just added to my debt. All these things I have to do are not burdens just yet. You never know how long it takes in between the breaks. Every dream starts with some shaking. I'm not one to ask when it comes to pass. Every day is another chance to find you. Another chance to find you. Another chance to find your way.
Tim Easton, live from Studio A, and that's Find Your Way, the title track to his brand new album, officially released today. And yeah, it's a big day. And great reviews from No Depression, American Songwriter, Rolling Stone, just to name a few. Tonight's the show. It's sold out at Natalie's. After the next song he does, we'll do a ticket giveaway for the event tonight. 9 o'clock showtime. And we mentioned bears in Alaska. Did you have you had any bear encounters?
I have. Just the other day in Asheville, I was sitting at my friend's house. I look out the window. There's 4 bears cruising through her yard in the middle of the day. I mean, you know, it's the Blue Ridge Mountains, which is so beautiful. The great Martha King that's down there. And I work with her, and I also work with a guy here in Ohio by the name of Dennis Grable. And he's my booking agent who helps me make my way through this world, this wild world of folk music. And he runs a little thing here called Black Oak Artists. And he just kind of helps me out. And that the bear connection, I'm going to make it. And that basically he's quite a bear. He's a bear of an agent. He's and he's, you know, so I'm really lucky to have like friends to kind of help me get through here. And also, you know, I gotta do a shout out to the great Sam Brown and Jenna, who, you know, those two have put me up in Columbus. I get to stay with them. I get to break bread with them. I get to have tacos with Sam. And it's basically the best part of the road is this strange, like, beautiful breaking of the bread and sharing of the food. It's like, you know, occasionally we have to eat fast food or something like that, but we try to go about it healthier because I want to do this for longer, right? And it's just really nice to have friends with great culinary activity going on. And this part of my life, it's like Anthony Bourdain like had a film crew and everything going around with him, but I get to go around without that film crew. And I just got back from Japan, like I said, and as you can imagine, the food is a big part of that journey. You know, the ramen, the sushi, the everything. And so I feel really lucky to have that in my life and to have all those healthy culinary friends out there that are helping me get through this and basically making it a huge joy. Yeah. You know, having a cup of coffee with a friend, having a real conversation, not being afraid to talk about what's bothering us, what's going well, what's got us in fear. I think this album is addressing a lot of that. Right. You know, basically you're getting older and you start like either I'm going to therapy or I'm going to ask my friends to suggest that I go to therapy. I'm going to talk to my friends so much that they're like, you should go see someone and talk to them, you know? Like
right, or I'm going to start charging you.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I've been through I'm a father that's been through a divorce, and I have to say some of my friends that have been through the same things that now live in great co-parenting situations, they taught me, you know, they taught me a lot. And now I find myself having those conversations with others because let's face it, there is nothing more important than raising our children with peace of mind and joy and happiness. And that's what it turns out. You know, I'm a road dog. I'm on the road a lot, so that does affect my parenting thing. When I'm home, I'm probably more fun than most dads. I'm not going to say for sure, but no, I mean, I'm just kind of I'm present and I get to do a lot, but it still never makes, like using the phone and FaceTime never makes up for for really one-on-one hanging out with your kiddos and stuff. So,
and that touch, the hugs, all of
yeah,
that,
everything about it. It's like so big, and so there's nothing easy about this troubadour life when it comes to also parenting, and it did that and many other factors led to me, going through a breakup of my marriage, but then comes the therapy. A little late. I probably should have gone to therapy before,
but it's how it fell into place the way it was supposed to roll.
Yeah, man. I just heard the director, the great German director. Oh my gosh, not Wim Wenders, but anyways, I just heard of him like making fun of therapy. He was on Conan's radio show, and they were just like insulting therapy, and I couldn't tell if he was being honest or not. But I mean, I have to say, like, sure, there's probably some devilish therapists.
You never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, you need, but it's like calling a friend. That's what our relationships are with our friends, is that we can say whatever we want to them without fear of judgment.
Right.
And that is,
and
we
it
need
is therapy.
That. If you don't have that in your lives, I suggest you go find it. I don't mean to make suggestions to people, but it's like having those dear, either family members or friends that you can actually really let your guard down and say what's going on, because there's a lot going on out there, and we all need help. I certainly do.
Absolutely, yeah. And your daughter, I mean, she's been a part of your shows, and she helps you out too.
Yeah, if I could just get her to drop out of school and just become my road manager, driver / MERS salesman, then I'd be doing great.
Well, how long she has? How many years left?
I want her to go finish and get that psychology degree. No, I'm just kidding. Your daughter is not your therapist, and it's just like they can be your teachers though. Sometimes they can definitely teach you to appreciate the beautiful little things that you might have. Certainly, all through parenting, that happens, and then later when they become independent humans, there's a whole new world that opens up. That all the parents out there that are listening to this, like, yeah, we know, we got it, But I'm super grateful for all the parent musicians in my life. Sam Brown, one of them, J.P. Olson for sure. These people that, and a lot of cats in Nashville as well. We're chock full of musician parents for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had quite a few folks. Well, Aaron Lee Tashin, that was from here and lives in Nashville now. We also had Eric Slick from Dr. Dog was just here. We were all talking about you and Aaron and Philip Michael Scales, all sorts of.
Aaron's new album is so beautiful. Anybody out there listening, like Aaron Lee Tashin, who grew up in New Albany and parts of Columbus, I finally met him in Europe. Anybody out there listening that you want to hear a unique artist from Central Ohio who is kicking ass on this planet, and artistically speaking, and just in every direction, he is going places that true artists go. Cats like Bowie and Prince, people that don't rely on one thing and keep doing that over and over, like me, for example. No, I'm definitely rooted in the roots music and stuff like that, but I've got an electronic album I'm working at home. I've got my other even more folky guy named Dark Watson. That's an alter ego of mine. So I'll be surprising you as time goes on. But Aaron Lee Tashin is putting out records right now that is just, he's got a brand new album out, and I just love him so much.
Yeah, me too. And
What a
we
great
love
spirit.
you. We are happy to have Tim back. And a few more questions before we get to our third
Yeah, what
song.
you got?
We got Kodiak. How did that come? Like, why everywhere in Alaska?
Yeah, out of all
How
the
did
places,
that-
Kodiak's an island. Kodiak is like Alaska on steroids. You go down to Kodiak, and you're in a place where you're like, oh, okay, I'm in a different land right now. I'm not sure where, what's going on. It's the kind of place where you might be fishing and you leave your cell phone on because someone might call you and tell you that there's a bear about 500 yards to your left, and you probably should start scooting. There's just beautiful people there, and remote.
But how did you hear of it in the first
How did I
place?
hear about it? Oh, just from being a traveler.
Okay.
You know, back in the day, I was an au pair in Paris. I was living in Paris. People let me take care of their kids, and I was there. And everybody, you know, the Berlin Wall came down, and everybody was going to Prague. And you just heard about it from the streets. You know, people were just like, "Oh, Prague is where it's at." So I ended up in Prague after the Velvet Revolution, and making art and music there, and starting to make my first recordings, which were called Goody Boy. The very first recordings I made were named after a restaurant, an old restaurant on High Street, and the pictures from the front of that. But I recorded that album just off the Charles Bridge in Prague. And the songs were like Doc Watson, Sonny Terry Brown and McGee,
Nice.
7 originals, and a few J.P. Olson covers. That's where I started, and that's where today, like, my music has evolved and done different things thematically. But really, I've stayed in the roots of folk music. I've always been close to it, and I'm proud of it, and I attend Folk Alliance, and I love that scene, so...
And Paris and Prague was also where you busked.
Yeah, I
for-
was a street musician there, which just basically made me lean into the folky thing even harder. And I was using the same guitar that I'm playing
Love it.
today. And you know I barely strung all those themes together with my ADD. But what I was just trying to say is that folk music is the heart and core of it all. And because I chose that, I'm able to make music forever. Yeah. You know, you actually get better with age somehow. You know, or weirder or stranger.
Something.
You know? Yeah.
We all have a little bit of something, right?
Yeah.
That can be anything.
Hey, out there, we see you. We understand you. We feel you.
We do.
If you're feeling rough today, call a friend and ask them how they're doing and mean it. You know, that's one way I deal with all the stuff. And I appreciate you guys listening out there and checking it out, and occasionally going to the shows. And I have a Patreon page, of course. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about that on the radio, but of course I have this thing where I turn in all these songs. You know, every month I'm turning in a new song to my patrons, and it's like Netflix,
cool,
but it's Tim Flicks. You know, it's like $2 a month or whatever. And you know, I'm just saying that I don't need to go into it, but like that's how I get by. This year I'm traveling quite a bit, so if you go online and punch in Team Easton Tour, you're going to find a lot of dates out there. And if you got some friends or family in those regions, I appreciate you sending them by.
Nice. It is Tim Easton, live from Studio A. We've got one more. But first, you came to Columbus what year? You're from Akron originally.
I came here. I went to Ohio State. I went to the. I went there, and I was 1984 or 5. It was a while ago. Yeah, it was a long time ago.
And then, did you start writing and playing before?
I was a poetry
here?
major at Ohio State. I was an English major that specialized in poetry. Gordon Grigsby and David Citino were the poets that were teachers. They were my first like real poets I met that told me that I perhaps was a poet as well. That's how you become a poet. A poet has to tell you. That's, you know, they're
You're
like,
christened
okay.
in,
Yeah,
right.
basically you're like, okay, you're a poet. Let's see what you got. And then, you know, I would turn some things in, and they'd be like, very nice. And I would turn some things in, and Gordon Grigsby would be like, did you write this on the Oval on the way to class today? Because it sounds like it. You know, just real honest feedback.
Was it true?
Yes, absolutely. Like I just last minute
Like,
cramming a poem in. Yeah, just complete BS, and I got busted. And so that was great teaching, really. And then long before that, my brother told me that if I wrote, I got some good marks on haiku. And he said, you know, if you write poetry and play guitar, you can write songs. So I started doing that, and then I discovered Chris Christopherson and Townes Van Zandt, and songwriters and Joni Mitchell and of course all the greats, and started learning from them. Then when I got to Columbus in 84, 85, still wasn't really much of a writer, but then I saw J.P. Olson, and that is 100% true. And J.P. is going to join me in Alaska this year, or he says he is. Anyways, we'll see.
JP.
He doesn't know that I'm going to be making him hitchhike all around Alaska with me, and we're going to get out there, and it's going to get wild. But J.P. Olson, I saw him play at Bernie's one afternoon, and I was like, oh, I can do that. I want to do that, you know. He played Hank Williams, he played Bob Dylan, and he played an original, and I was like, I'm going to write a song. I went home the day I saw J.P. Olson was the first time I went home that night and wrote a song that I still could play today, and I know this for sure. It became a Haynes Boy song, and I know for sure that John Peterson played it on WCBE once or twice. It was called More Than a Saturday.
And then Franklin County Woman, you did
Oh,
that.
that's coming a little later, but that new Franklin County Woman, which I just got requested to play that song the other day. So I immediately started leaning into that songwriter life in the late '80s and then '90s with the band. But I have to say, it's come on stronger now. You know, now that I don't drink anymore or whatever, now that I'm living a little bit cleaner life, I have more time on my hands to be a workaholic, you know, and write. So I'm writing a lot more, and because I have a Patreon page and I deliver to it, you know. So
cool.
It's like now I'm writing more, and the pandemic jump-started me even more. It made me write even more. So now I have poetry books and stuff like that, and I'm really honored that I'm going to be putting out a poetry book that might be in the libraries next year. We'll see.
Let's see.
Yeah.
And J.P. Olson, so you saw him play at Bernie's.
Yeah.
Had you played out in Columbus at this point?
Maybe an open stage or something like that, yeah.
But your first gig out was where?
Oh, it was definitely at Stashes, and I opened up for the Gibson Brothers. And I remember the Gibson Brothers telling me that my music was kind of cute. Or Don Howland of the Bassels, he was like, yeah, it's pretty cute. And I was like, oh God. Okay. I know I played Love Potion No. 9, like that was in my set, and
Fun.
yeah.
That's
And
great
I played
story.
that and a couple other Sonny Terry Brown McGee things, and it was told I was cute, and I was
That's
like,
cute.
I better I got to dirty it up a little bit here, and I got, nobody believes you in roots and Americana folk music. They don't believe you when you're young, and a cutie pie or whatever. you gotta get some grizzled stuff. You gotta get some life going. It's like, Willie Nelson, the classic example. Of course, he's the genius Willie Nelson who still walks the earth with us today.
Still put out yet another record.
Yeah, I know. He's just incredible, right?
The beast.
And his son's in Neil Young's band now, and the Particle Kid. And I basically started writing tunes then, and I keep going. I keep going with it, and it brings me joy. I think it's actually kind of an easy format compared to, like, say, making feature-length films or writing a novel. A song is, let's face it, a couple of verses, a chorus, a bridge if you're still into bridges, which I am, but modern pop music has 0 bridges in it. But I loved the Beatles, and I loved the Paul McCartney side of it, of writing a character, and then I lean more into John, who's writing from the first person, like I am the walrus, I'm a loser, I'm the, in my life, his personal side, and then McCartney's storytelling side, where Eleanor Rigby or Rocky Raccoon, which is the first song I ever played in public. So at my sister's wedding, I played Rocky Raccoon. I think by the time I opened up for the Gibson Brothers, I knew better than to play Rocky Raccoon.
What would they have called you then?
I can still, of course, bang that out. I think I did it in the dorm rooms, in the towers at Ohio State. I think I might have,
in the towers? I was in the towers.
I might have tried to impress a few ladies with my Rocky Raccoon chops.
It is Tim Easton, live from Studio A. Always a pleasure. We just love having you back.
Thank
and
you.
Congratulations on this new album, Find
Thank
Your
you
Way.
so much.
Oh, thank you. And we'll give those tickets away after this song that Tim takes us out with. What's it going to be?
This is a short song on the new record that comes from a true place, and it's called Here for You. I hear you talking, my mind is hopping. We all have our days, our wandering ways. If you are the sweetest, and I'm just the beast who loves you still. Say what you will. I'm alone, waking up early, gonna write you a letter. I know your dad doesn't mean it, and I hope he gets better. We have our daughter, she's mostly water and fire too. She's just like you. When she gets honest and drops truth upon us, we look at each other, love one another. I fell asleep with the lights on, and it's no wonder. walking the dog's path can see that I'm under the weather. Keeps changing, and I'm always here for you. No matter what you told your friends, I'm always here for you. Even when I'm gone, let the rain be our song. Mend when you're torn, your rosebud and thorn, forever and more. I'm always here